The news hour, coming to you live from the studios of Hitzafrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download the tuning app onto your mobile phone today and catch up on all the latest news from Hitzafrik Radio. Broadcasting live on modern Ghana and our website www.hitzafrikradio.org. Hitzafrik Radio News Hour live. The news hour, coming to you live from the studios of Hitzafrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download the tuning app onto your mobile phone today and catch up on all the latest news from Hitzafrik Radio. Broadcasting live on modern Ghana and our website www.hitzafrikradio.org. Hitzafrik Radio News Hour live.
Good morning. It's exactly 7 o'clock GMT in the studios of Hitzafrik Radio and TV. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Hitzafrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned as I bring you the news headlines. Power outage to hit some parts of Ghana. Journalists against LGBTQI. South Africa bans take away of alcohol. I was forced into marriage. These and many other stories I bring your way this morning. Stay tuned as I bring you the news in details. Fire sweeps through 13 apartments in Sunyani. Personal belongings and property worth millions of Ghana cedis were destroyed by fire at Adumako, a suburb of Sunyani. The fire, according to residents, started around 13 hours GMT and swept through 13 apartments in the neighborhood. No casualty was, however, recorded, and the cause of the outbreak is yet to be known. A victim, Nana Bafo, 64 years, told Adam News he was asleep when the incident occurred, but he managed to escape unhurt. However, Obin Kusi, a witness, attributed to the intermittent power outages in the area, explained within that period of time. When personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service arrived at the scene, the fire had razed down almost all the apartments. The Divisional Officer Grade 3, GO3, Solomon Ajimanjia, the Sunyani Municipal Fire Commander, confirmed the story and advised the public to engage professional electricians to wire their buildings. Francis Kran, Assemblyman for Esufufu, or the Watchman electoral area, consoled the victims and appealed to the National Disaster Management Organization to come to the aid of the victims. He urged the public to always put off electrical gadgets before they leave their homes. Most of the victims are currently perching with friends and relatives. In other stories, power outage to hit some parts of Ghana from April. The Ghana Grid Company Limited, GRIDCO, the country's power transmission company, says it is in discussions with the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, to develop a load shedding timetable for power outages in some parts of the country. The table will provide details of the time and places that would experience power outages at any point in time between April and June this year. Ebenezer Amankwa, the corporate communications manager of GRIDCO, who confirmed this in a media interview in Accra, said the load shedding schedule would enable them, both the ECG and GRIDCO, to inform the customers ahead of the outages. Some towns in Greater Accra metropolitan area Winneba in the central region and Greater Kumasi metropolitan area would be affected. The schedule, he said, would therefore allow the residents in the affected communities to plan their social lives properly to minimize the adverse effects of the outages. Explaining the rationale for the intended exercise, Mr. Amankwa stated that the engineers and contractors working on some transmission lines and bulk supply points needed to connect power into the system to reduce the burden on the existing electricity substations. Moving on to other stories, journalists against LGBTQI. Ghana condemns lesbianism beatings of 2 journalists. The unfortunate actions are totally barbaric, absolutely moonshine, and need comprehensive police investigations to unravel the case and ensure all perpetrators are brought to book. Our members, Peter Owusu Jamina, Adom TV reporter, and Emmanuel Somwa, Adom TV cameraman, and One Angel FM lady reporter, who managed to escape, were attacked and beaten for taking coverage of a wedding ceremony between 2 lesbians, names yet to be known, at the aforementioned town. The venue for the ceremony is said to have been rented to one woman come tenant by the late Joseph Isumini, who is the owner of the residence. The woman is said to be the would-be wife of her lesbian partner. According to information gathered from the victims, the lady reporter, who had first gotten wind of the ceremony, decided to take coverage, but considering the dress code for such an event, she felt her black dress was not appropriate, so she hid somewhere and observed what transpired. The lady reporter informed some of the community dwellers, who also observed the event closely and later called in the police. The police managed to apprehend 22 suspects who have been granted bail. The lady reporter subsequently called her colleagues from Adom TV after the ceremony had closed late in the night. The Adom TV team went to the residence the following day to conduct interviews with some of the lesbians who initially concurred to be captured on TV. In the course of the interviewee rescinded the decision to be captured. However, all attempts to explain the need for the public to hear their story were unsuccessful, so the interview proceeded without being held on camera. The victims indicated that some of the participants heckled and beat them, but the lady reporter managed to escape. One of Adom TV reporters, Mr. Jamina, said his phone, which took images of the scenes, had been badly damaged. We wish to use this press release to call on the Ghana Journalists Association to join in condemning this barbaric act against our members and the Inspector General of Police to mount investigations into the attacks and all well-meaning bodies to render their displeasure against the act. We would spur our members on to diffuse any fear likely to permeate their intellect and request that they continue to fight against our cause. Moving on to other stories, German North Member of Parliament cut sword for the construction of Gari processing factory at Jamera. The German North constituency Member of Parliament on the ticket of the NDC Honorable Ahinkwa Yao Frederick has cut sword for the construction of cassava processing factory for the people of Jamera, a suburb in the German North constituency. The initiative was a partnership with the BOK Africa, IOM, and GIZ, non-governmental organization which always campaign against irregular migration on the side of Ghanaian youth. During the sword cutting ceremony, Honorable Ahinkwa Yao Frederick stated that that this is delivery of part of his mandate as women of Jamera and Kabire requested that he, Honorable Ahinkwa, should assist them with cassava processing machine to undertake their usual activities, bean gari processing, during the campaign season prior to election 2020. He added that he will foot the bill of electrification of the Jamera and the already constructed Darira cassava processing factory so as to commence community activities together for the development of districts in Ghana large. Nanasa Fufu II, chief of Jamera Traditional Council, also expressed their dissatisfaction to what the Member of Parliament has done for the people of Jamera and pleaded with the youth in the community to begin the preparation towards the acquisition of raw materials cassava for the factory to be operational after completion. He also urged Honorable Frederick Ahinkwa to also support them with capital to operate the factory. Mr. Kweku Yebua, a representative from BOK Africa, IOM, and GIZ, pleaded with the youth of Jamera to support the construction of the factory in kind as contribution from the community to enable them complete the structure on time. Moving on to other stories, Transport Minister threatens to demolish buildings in Sunyani Airport land without compensation. Minister of Transport Kweku Ofori Isiama has threatened to demolish buildings of encroachers on Sunyani Airport land without paying any compensation to their owners to pave the way for the completion of the renovation of the airport. He warned that the outright demolition of such buildings remained the only option to speed up renovation work of the airport in order to fully commence operations before the end of this year. The minister, who was on a visit to the airport on Monday to inspect the progress of the project, explained that owners of the buildings were given prior notice to stop the construction, but they ignored the directive, so no compensation would be paid to them. We have indicated that a silver roofing sheet of some of the buildings within a certain radius of the airport are not acceptable, and I've asked the owners to change them, Mr. Isiama said. He explained that the silver roofing sheet would interfere with the activities of the aircraft, and the measure was to prevent any future mishap. The minister noted that a contractor is on course and has given assurance that the work was 95% complete and was expected to be completed by the end of May this year. Minister of Transport Kweku Ofori Isiama and delegation toured the Sunyani Airport yesterday. Justina Owusu Banahene, Bono Regional Minister, gave assurance the sector minister's directive for the buildings to be pulled down would be complied with. She recalled that during her tenure as Sunyani Municipal Chief Executive, she and the Sunyani West Municipal Chief Executive, Martin Obeng, asked owners of the buildings to stop encroaching on the airport's land, but they ignored the directive. The managing director of Ghana Airport Company Limited, Mr. Yao Kwakwa, disclosed that the airport had received a facelift in some areas, including furniture, carpets, washrooms, and the lighting system. A new area has also been created to separate the departure and arrival halls, he said. Adding the company was hoping to expand the length of the airport from 1,520 to 1,900 meters. Moving on to other African countries, South Sudan. South Sudan governor survives attacks as dozens killed, Nicola Mandir. Governor Louis Lobong survived the ambush in as Eastern Equatorial Stalemage. Governor Louis Lobon survived the ambush in Eastern Equatorial State. Nearly 20 people are now known to have been killed in South Sudan's Eastern Equatorial State, where Governor Louis Lobon Lujori survived a deadly ambush, his press secretary has said. Alejandro Lotuk said Mr. Lobon survived an ambush by heavily armed youth from the Buya community on Monday evening. Governor Lobon was in Camp 15 to calm down the high tension in the area following an attack on that center on Sunday, which left 17 people dead, he said. After a 2-hour-long gun battle with the armed youth, the governor's protection unit and soldiers, after 2-hour-long gun battle with the armed youth, got to push back the attackers. The deaths include one of the governor's bodyguards and a soldier's wife. 3 others were critically injured. Mr. Lutuk said the governor and his delegation were in the barracks but in a defensive position to respond to any impending attack. He says the army commander in the area has called for reinforcements from Juba to help rescue the governor and evacuate him from the troubled region. Mr. Lutuk alleged that Sunday's attack on Camp 15 was believed to be revenge as a result of last week's deadly assault on the Sudan People's Liberation Army in opposition, SPLAIO, camp at Luwaring, where 5 soldiers, including their commander, were killed. In other stories, in South Africa bans take-away alcohol. Police officers confiscate alcohol during a patrol as a nighttime curfew to reimpose amid a nationwide coronavirus disease. Lockdown in Pretoria, South Africa, January 9, 2021. President Ramaphosa says alcohol encourages negligent behavior. The South African government has banned the sale of takeaway alcohol over the weekend's Easter holiday to prevent a surge in coronavirus infections. President Cyril Ramaphosa said alcohol had a role in encouraging negligent behavior. Bars and restaurants may still serve drinks. Religious gatherings have also been restricted to 50% capacity if indoors. Coronavirus transmission is relatively low in South Africa after a second wave peaked in January. Alcohol bans have been imposed several times throughout the pandemic. Yella is the end of the local story. Stay tuned as I fetch you the foreign news.
You are listening to Hitzafrik Radio.
The News Hour. The News Hour, coming to you live from the studios of Hitzafrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download the tune.
You're still logged on to Hitzafrik Radio and TV. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Hitzafrik Radio and TV. Now let's do some world news. In China, more work needed to rule out China lab leak theory, says WHO. The head of the World Health Organization, WHO, has said further investigation is needed to conclusively rule out that COVID-19 emerged from a laboratory in China. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that although a lab leak was the least likely cause, more research was needed. The US and other countries have criticized China for failing to provide the WHO with sufficient data. Beijing has always dismissed the allegations of a virus leak. A report by WHO and Chinese experts released on Tuesday said the lab leak explanation was highly unlikely and the virus had probably jumped from bats to humans via another intermediary animal. China has yet to respond to the WHO's latest statement. All hypotheses on the table. However, the theory that the virus might have come from a leak in a laboratory requires further investigation, potential with additional missions, including specialist experts, Dr. Tedros said on Tuesday. Let me say clearly that as far as WHO is concerned, all hypothesis remains on the table, he added. 5 days that shaped the Wuhan outbreak, UK scientists defends WHO one fact-finding mission. The virus was first detected in Wuhan, in China's Hubei province in late 2019. An international team of experts traveled to the city in January to probe the origins of the virus. Their research relied on samples and evidence provided by Chinese officials, but Dr. Tedros said the team had difficulty accessing raw data and called for more timely and comprehensive data sharing in the future. The team investigated all possibilities, including one theory that the virus had originated at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The institute is the world's leading authority on the collection, storage, and study of bat coronavirus. In response to the WHO report, the US and 13 allies, including South Korea, Australia, and the UK, voiced concern over the findings and urged China to provide full access to experts. The statement said the mission to Wuhan was significantly delayed and lacked access to complete original data and samples. Scientific missions like these should be able to do their work under conditions that produce independent and objective recommendations and findings. The group pledged to work together with the WHO. Former US President Donald Trump was among those who supported the theory that the virus might have escaped from a lab. Moving on to other stories in Australia. Australia falls 85% short of vaccine delivery goal. The 85% shortfall comes 2 days after Brisbane entered another snap lockdown to combat a small outbreak. Last week, the government said the vaccine rollout did not demand urgency given Australia's low infection rates. The country has recorded 909 deaths and 29,300 cases since the pandemic began, far fewer than many other nations. But sporadic outbreaks have led to 6 lockdowns in cities in recent months. Critics say situations like Brisbane's outbreak show why a quick vaccine program is still needed. Brisbane's 2 clusters have been linked to a nurse and a doctor who contracted the virus from a COVID ward at the same hospital. It's unclear why those health workers have not yet been vaccinated, officials said. Australia is administering the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccines and has a rate of 2.3 vaccines per 100 people. On Tuesday, Chief Health Officer Paul Kelly reported that 597,000 doses had been given so far. In January, Prime Minister Scott Morrison promised to have 4 million people inoculated with their first shot by March. Earlier this month, the government conceded it wasn't on track and pushed the target back to April. It also abandoned a promise to have every Australian fully vaccinated by October. Australia is currently up to stage 2 of its 4-phase rollout for its 25 million population. Doses are being offered to people over 70, those in aged care homes, frontline health workers, emergency services workers, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, people over 55, and people with underlying health conditions. Authorities have not specified why the pace had been so slow, but issues such as booking technicalities have been reported. There are also reports that some people are choosing not to get the vaccine. Natural disasters such as the massive floods in eastern Australia last week have also disrupted the rollout. Earlier this month, the EU blocked a shipment of AstraZeneca doses to Australia, urging there was a greater need for them in Europe. Australia said the one shipment of 250,000 doses would not greatly affect its own program, as it built up greater need for them in Europe. Australia said the one shipment of 250,000 doses would not greatly affect its own program, as it built up its own manufacturing capability. However, Australia has asked the EU to review the ban on its order, which Mr. Morrison said had been paid for. Labour opposition leader Anthony Albanese said the government, by its own admission, could not blame international supply issues. They said the target wasn't dependent on anything else and they would certainly reach the target, he told the ABC. Yet again, it's an example of how Scott Morrison is always strong on announcement and weak on delivery. Moving on to other country, in Germany. Germany limits use of AstraZeneca COVID jab for under 60s. Medical personnel prepare AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine at the general practice of Dr. Claudia Schramm as the spread of the coronavirus disease continues. In Maintal, Germany, March 24, 2021. Germany is suspending routine use of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine for people aged below 60 because of a risk of rare blood clots. The German medicines regulator found 31 cases of a type of rare blood clot among the nearly 2.7 million people who had received the vaccine in Germany. Canada earlier suspended use of the AstraZeneca jab in people under 55. AstraZeneca said international regulators had found the benefits of its jab outweighed risks significantly. It said it was continuing to analyze its database to understand whether these very rare cases of blood clots associated with thrombocytopenia occur any more commonly than would be expected naturally in a population of millions of people. We will continue to work with the German authorities to address any questions they may have, it added. The EU and UK medicine regulators both backed the vaccine after various cautionary suspensions in Europe this month. The European Medicines Agency, EMA, and the UK Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency stressed that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine continue to outweigh risks of side effects.
You are listening to Hitzafrik Radio.
In the UK, a government spokesperson said the Oxford or AstraZeneca vaccine is safe, effective, and has already saved thousands of lives in the country. As the UK's independent regulator has said, when people are called for it, they should get the jab. Over 30 million people have already received their first dose of a vaccine, and we are on track to offer jabs to all over 50s by 15th April and all adults by the end of July. Charts showing the number of countries using each vaccine updated 15th March. AstraZeneca product is one of the most widely used coronavirus vaccines in the West and is meant to be supplied on a not-for-profit basis to the developing world. The EU's rollout of its vaccination program has been dogged by delays because of delivery and production problems, and Germany is among several states now fearing a third wave of infections. On Tuesday, Italy's Prime Minister Mario Draghi and his wife, who are both 73, received their first doses of AstraZeneca in a display of confidence in the vaccine. Analysis box by Nick Trigo, health correspondent. If you give a vaccine to millions of people, You will, of course, see some cases of people falling seriously ill or even dying shortly afterwards. It does not mean the vaccine has caused the problem. It could have occurred naturally. What authorities have to work out is whether it is cause or coincidence. They do this by monitoring adverse events after vaccination and see if they are above what you would normally expect. The type of blood clot that has been seen is very rare, and so it is hard to know exactly how many cases you would normally expect to see. We do know it is more common in women, and taking the pill increases the risk of it happening. There is no evidence yet to prove the AstraZeneca vaccine increases the chance of these clots. But even if it does, the next thing you have to take into account is whether COVID presents more of a danger. Regulators in Europe and the UK are clear, given the current evidence, the use of the vaccine should continue in all ages. Here lies the end of the foreign story. Stay tuned as I fetch you the entertainment news. You're still logged on to Hitzafrik Radio and TV. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Hitzafrik Radio and TV. Now let's do some entertainment stories for this morning. I broke up with David Dontor because he wanted a male child, says Mame Dokuma. I broke up with David Dontor because he wanted a male child, which I wasn't ready to give him, Mame Dokuno reviews. Veteran Ghanaian actress Grace Omabo, popularly known as Mame Dokuno, finally revealed why she broke up with the veteran actor David Dontor. In an interview on Kingdom FM with Fifi Pratt, Mame Dokuno admitted that she dated David Dontor. However, she revealed that she had to break up with him because he wanted a child with her. According to her, she wasn't ready to give birth again. The veteran actress indicated that David Dontor is a very handsome man, and it hurt her that she had to break up with him. Mame Dokuno even revealed that she had her kids through artificial insemination. Moving on to other stories. In Nigeria, I was forced into marriage, says Patience Ozoko. Nollywood veteran Patience Ozoko has revealed that she was forced into marriage at a younger age due to the competition between her mother and her mates. According to the Mama G, the Hustler actress, she comes from a polygamous family where marriage is a sort of competition among families. It was my parents' decision to marry at a younger age, she told Nigeria's Channel TV. I come from a polygamous family where my mother wants me to get married because her mate's daughter has gotten married. I was forced into marriage, that's it. She said her marriage experience was horrible, but she endured it to please her father and be able to take care of her children. My experience was horrible. Our era was a period where you don't have to decide who marries you. Your parent or cousin could arrange it. Once your parents have accepted it, you are in for it, she said. In my family, you don't come back from your husband's house. You stay, manage, and make the best out of it. When I went into the marriage, I saw that I was involved. I put my head together because I couldn't disappoint my father, who loved me so much. So I had to stay back. Reason why I stayed in my marriage was to please my family and take care of my children. So whether there was love or not, it does not matter. She said this generation's view of marriage isn't marriage because her Christian background doesn't permit divorce. Remarriages among this generation aren't marriage for me. It is just relationships that could be broken at any time. For me, marriage is forever till death do us apart. That's the way I brought up my children, and it's working out for me with prayers. Here lies the end of the news for today. Stay tuned as I bring you a recap of today's headlines. You're still logged on to Hitzafrik Radio and TV. Once again, the recap of today's headlines. Power outage to hit some parts of Ghana. Journalists against LGBTQI. South Africa bans takeaway alcohol. I was forced into marriage, says Patience Ozoko. These and many other stories I brought away this morning. My name is Abena Ahwinie. Stay tuned for more music. Have a beautiful morning.
The news hour coming to you live from the studios of